presentation is about polar bears.
Let's hang it up.
Is it working?
I don't know what the deal is.
Oh,
There it goes.
okay. So, I want you to think of an endangered species. Now, when I said endangered, you were probably thinking of polar bears, right? When most people think of animal species who are close to endangerment, they usually think of this bear species who live in Arctic tundras such as Canada, Alaska, and Antarctica, just to name a few places. While it is true that these fuzzy white bears are close to endangerment, perhaps they aren't as close to extinction as we previously thought. In fact, many researchers believe that the population is steadily increasing. As we continue this speech, I would like to go over the conservation status, the number of polar bear population, and the way climate change impacts the overall polar bear population. What is conservation status, you may be asking? Well, in case you are asking that question, conservation status is a ranking based on severity of risk of a certain species. According to the IUCN Red List, there are 8 categories of conservation. Data deficient, least concerned, near threatened, vulnerable, endangered, extinct in the wild, and extinct. The current conservation status for polar bears is vulnerable and close to extinction, or endangered, I'm sorry. In order for an animal species to be considered endangered, though, a population size must be less than 2,500. This segues into my next topic, the current number of polar bears. Research shows that in 2020, there were an estimate of 25,000 polar bears globally. While this is still a low number, it's not quite low enough to be considered endangered. There's a common misconception that the polar bear population is steadily declining due to climate change, and that they're going to be extinct by the end of the century. This is false. In fact, research shows that the opposite is true. The population is growing, in fact, booming. And in the early 1950s, the population was only at 5,000. Now, I don't know about you, but that sounds way closer to extinction than the current 25,000. Oh, yeah.
Just 1 second.
However, just because the population is increasing doesn't mean we should forget that global warming is a big threat. In fact, it's the single biggest threat to the overall polar bear population. While they are currently increasing in numbers, researchers are worried that if the temperature keeps rising in the Arctic tundras, this could very negatively impact the overall population. Studies show that the loss of Arctic sea ice affects their ability to find food. Because of this, the average weight of an adult female has decreased, making them much thinner. Global warming also makes these polar bears more susceptible to diseases and infections because of the abnormally high temperatures of their climate. According to scientist Roz Pitcock, the amount of sea ice is diminishing by 4% each year. This is highly concerning because that would make that would mean there would be less places for the polar bears to live. The real concern isn't the polar bears decreasing, because they're not decreasing. The real concern is global warming and how that could later have an effect on the overall population. Although the population is booming, that doesn't mean these bears are immune to getting extinct. If we cut back on the consumption of fossil fuels, maybe we could help slow down global warming and give these bears and other Arctic animals a chance to thrive. That's